everybody. Welcome to another episode of Capital Spotlight. Today on the podcast, we have Maria Giannopoulos. She's had a really cool resume, worked in the private sector and on the Hill. Most recently, or one of her recent jobs, was she helped set up the Republican National Convention. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. Overall, a lot of interesting things. She also has a fashion account that she does on Instagram and other social media that you should definitely check out. Here's the episode. Hello, everybody. I'm David Tennant, founder of Connect, and we're here for another episode of Capital Spotlight. Today, we have Maria Giannopoulos. Yeah. Give us a brief overview of where you've been at professionally over the last few years.
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Maria Giannopoulos. I am a marketing and digital professional. I specialize here in the political and public affairs world. I started my career buying political ads, and then I transferred into the Senate. I was living in D.C., working in Virginia, and wanted to really be in the action, so I came to Capitol Hill. Post Hill, I went on the campaign trail, and then after the campaign cycle, I went to Google for a number of years, and then I realized that I really missed being in the thick of it, and there was an opportunity that presented itself in my home state, so I went back to run all the marketing and digital at the 2024 Republican National Convention.
There you go.
So extremely exciting. It was amazing to be home, and it was really cool to see the ins and outs of such a huge, historic event, that only comes around every 4 years.
For sure. That's like the biggest spectacle in politics, right? Every
sure
4
is.
years, you get the big show. And to do it in your hometown, or home state, Wisconsin. So tell us a little bit about, kind of where you grew up, or like that side of you, like where are you from?
Sure. So I grew up about an hour north of Milwaukee, hour south of Green Bay, right on Lake Michigan.
Nice.
In Sheboygan, Wisconsin. If you remember the polka band from Home Alone, John Candy always says, "Oh, we're famous in Sheboygan." So that's where I'm from, and it's such a wonderful place. Wisconsin is beautiful in the summer. In the winter, bundle up.
Yep.
So it was really great to be back home for a whole year, planning the RNC, and to be close to my mom. I grew up with her. Unfortunately, my father passed away when I was really young. So my mom and I have been, two peas in a pod ever since I was really young. So it was really great to be back close to her. I've been gone out of the house for a really long time. I've been on the East Coast for a decade or so. So I think my mom was ecstatic to have me back. We went around. We acted like tourists in our hometown. So super fun to be back with her.
Nice. I feel it's kind of like working in a district, or like working for your home member on steroids, right? Because you get like the kind of action of DC politics doing the RNC, but you also get to be in your actual state, kind of taking it all in there. So that's got to be a fun experience.
Oh yeah, it was very cool to be able to work with all the different groups and organizations. We partnered super closely with Visit Milwaukee. We got to see Top Chef when they came to Milwaukee, so that was pretty cool. Just all the kind of hometown feels being home for the RNC, but then getting to showcase them to everyone that is coming in from all across the country, everybody here from DC. So it was an experience of a lifetime for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot we want to talk about there, but we'll start more on the personal side. We want to get to know you outside of politics.
Of course.
You mentioned your dad died when he was younger, but you've still found ways to carry on his traditions and to remember him. So tell us a little bit about that side of you.
Yeah. So for anybody who follows me online, all my handles are Greek Maria. It's really an ode to my dad.
Yeah.
My dad passed away when I was really little. My dad is 100% Greek. My dad immigrated here to the States. My mom is not Greek at all. So, really finding ways to, kind of tap into my heritage, especially when, some of those traditions I didn't necessarily grow up with.
Sure.
I had some more traditional Wisconsin German type traditions with my mom and my mom's family, but really tapping into the Greek side. Going to Greece has been something I've cherished. I've gone to Greece a couple times, every time for a month or longer.
Nice. That's huge.
Kind of being able to tap into it. I wish I spoke Greek better, for sure.
How well do you speak Greek?
Not that well.
You can get by.
My fears are like, come on, Maria.
Nice.
So soon I'll be able to listen to my cousins and then tap in and
There you go.
Talk some shade out in public.
Yeah, for sure. It's always nice to have a secret language,
Yeah. So that's something that I really hold true. And, I've tapped into the Greek culture here in DC.
Nice.
Some of my best friends they ask me, oh, how do you know Noel? How do you know Calliope? We're like, we're Greek. So that's been really cool. We dance till the wee hours of the morning to the bouzoukia, go round and round in circles. So it's something that I've been able to pick up on and learn. And I love to dance, so it kind of speaks to my heart.
Is there like a good subculture of Greek people here?
Yeah. Actually, every year, DC Greeks holds a Hellenism weekend. It's actually right before the election every year, which
Smart timing.
ample timing. But Greeks from all across the country, they come and just celebrate Greek culture,
Jeez,
get
cool.
together. There's a huge dance. And that goes into the night. There's a band. So that happens every year here.
Nice.
And people from all over the country come. So big celebration. And it really does rely on the culture that we have here.
Cool.
So it is pretty fun.
Yeah, that's super fun. Like any way you can find community in this town too is always great. So to be able to go, all right, we got some Greeks around here. Let's go do fun Greek things. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. And it's really cool because all of my friends, I'd say most of my friends that are Greek don't work in politics.
Yeah.
So it's a refresher.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a friend who's in tech sales. I have a physical therapist who's a friend, somebody who does marketing for Under Armour, like super cool stuff, but not politically related at all. So it is really nice to just kind of get to step away, not have to talk about politics with those friends and, really embrace each other for, what brings us together.
For sure.
And just, being friends.
Yeah. For those people on the Hill who are maybe newer to DC or have been here for a while, who are like all encompassing like politics, what advice would you give them on that front of like, why is it good to have some people that outside of politics?
If you're going to Scarlet Oak on Wednesdays, maybe try a different path on Wednesday, branch out a little bit. It's something that it's hard to describe, but a lot of times in politics, the relationships can be transactional. Not all of them, but a lot of times they can be. Oh, hey, so great to see you. Let's get coffee soon.
And then you never get coffee.
That whole shtick. But when you make friends outside of politics, they're true friends. And I'll never forget. This was quite a few years ago, but I'll never forget. We were all at a pool, and one of our friends wasn't with us, and she had just gotten broken up with. And you just see all of us just like emerge from this pool, and we're like, okay, we gotta go. And I think in the political world and political friendships, like you get some of that,
Yeah.
but I don't think that you get that cohesion and really that deep connection that
sure.
you might get outside. So I just kind of think about that, like the people that I can truly rely on. And like, if, I'm having a bad day or, if I really need somebody to hype me up, like those girls are there for me.
For sure.
And my political friends are too, for sure. But I think that it's just like a deeper connection.
And I love my political friends, and they're some of my closest friends. But when I was on the Hill, they were on the Hill. We just automatically talk about politics all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so it's always good to not talk about politics and have something else to fall back on. And it's a good thing to have.
Totally. I mean, we could talk about Real Housewives. We could talk about all sorts of things.
All right,
But
what are your shows?
what are my shows? Okay, I'm really excited to see Love is Blind DC.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I've not tuned in for like the last 6 seasons since COVID, but definitely excited for this one.
I am really excited. I actually am more on the house type shows.
Gotcha.
I really like Owning Manhattan. Ryan Serhant is
Great
my
show.
guy.
I like Ryan Serhant.
He's
cool.
so good. I loved when he was on $1 Million Listing.
All of those shows were so great.
There was a girl who worked for him who was Greek.
Right. Okay.
Shout out to Peggy Z.
Yeah. And his wife is too.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
So, connection there. But I love those kind of shows. I love the houses and the architecture and
For sure.
cabinets and stuff like that.
I'm with you. That's why I watch it too.
Yeah.
You're not the first person to come on though and say like, I love watching Bravo TV. And
Hell
that's
yeah.
like my thing outside of work. So apparently that's a trend inside DC politics.
Of course. It's kind of like, one step removed. We have DC, Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then you have real Hollywood.
There you go. Yeah, a lot different. But that's great. Other than having your Greek heritage and like leaning into that in DC, are there other opportunities you find where it makes it easier to find community here?
Yeah, I think it's just about genuinely being yourself and being a genuine person and showcasing the things that you like and, showing up. I think that, going to, I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a Badger. I like the Packers.
Yeah.
So showing up to things like that, showing up to the football game watch or, just being there, just showing up as your authentic self, I think
sure.
can really help you find community because if you really tap into the things that you're interested in and that you really like, that's where people kind of form around you.
Yeah.
And, you find people that are like, oh, hey, like we have this in common. Let's hang out.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Did you wear green because of the Packers?
I didn't. We actually had a really sad loss against the Vikings.
Yeah, that was rough. The Vikings are just on another level right now. But.
And it was at Lambeau, so.
Have you been to a game like in the dead of winter at Lambeau?
Oh, man. Okay. So I've stayed away from the dead of winter at Lambeau. However, if you do go, this is the tip. So you have to bring cardboard with you.
Okay.
So the metal bleachers are obviously a very, very large conductor of heating and cooling. So if you put the cardboard underneath your feet, it's supposed to help keep you warm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say like sit on it or something, but no. Okay, so you put it under your feet.
Yeah.
All right. Someone smarter than us, I guess. They're maybe it's someone like way like dumber who's just like, this is
it's
what you
cardboard.
do.
It's totally cardboard.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. That's super fun. Great insight for anyone who ever wants to make it up to Lambeau one day.
Yeah.
That's an experience you have to have, I guess.
It's electric up there.
Yeah.
Green Bay is actually the smallest town in the NFL.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's actually like kind of a sleepy little town, other than when Lambeau's on fire. So,
sure.
Check it out. I think anybody home or away will enjoy it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Green Bay fans are very generous and nice, so they'll probably invite you to their tailgate.
For sure.
Open up a Miller Lite.
I got to go to Super Bowl 45 when the Steelers were playing the Packers. Huge Steelers
Hell
fan. Terrible experience. It was a great game, and that's another podcast, whatever. But we had so much fun. It was a great game. And we had a bunch of Packers fans sitting around us, and they were just so kind, like we had such a fun time with them. And Steelers fans were getting a little bummed out at the end, but I felt like the Packers fans, as we were leaving, were like wanting to apologize that they won. And they're just such kind people. It still sucked. It was a terrible experience, but we had fun.
I can't say I had the same during that Super Bowl. But yes, Wisconsin, fans are just so nice. I wish I would have brought my cheese head, to be honest.
That would have been great. We could have like put it on one of the shelves or something. All right. We should have known better.
It's actually back in Wisconsin. Most of my stuff is back there currently.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so let's transition a little bit into some of your work history. Actually, wait. First, I want to talk about some of your style guides and your
sure.
love for style. So, first off, what is it that you do to encapsulate that love, but also like how did you come up with that passion?
Yeah, I mean, I've always really loved clothes and fashion. When I was little, I would cut clothes out of magazines and like make outfits and do decoupage and stuff. So I always really loved clothes and fashion and putting outfits together. And, coming to Capitol Hill, DC isn't necessarily known for its style.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be a lot of, browns and grays in people's wardrobes. So kind of embracing my own personal style on Capitol Hill and being in DC is something that I hope to share, because I think, people would always ask me, Maria, where'd you get that dress? Maria, what do I wear when I go to the Hill? So I started a series online on social media called Outfit on the Hill.
Good stuff.
Where I just kind of talk about my outfit. I'm actually starting season 2.
There you go. Exciting stuff.
If anybody wants to film an outfit on the Hill, you can go to greekmaria.com/OOTH, sign up to film. There's a little bit about kind of the inspo and reason behind why it's so important. I think, on Capitol Hill, we do serious business.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that your outfit reflects that, but also reflects your personal style. I'm wearing green today. I'm wearing a color, kind of trying to embrace that transitional fall wardrobe, which can be tough because it's 80 degrees and you want to wear a sweater, but you can't. So how do you get those transitional pieces, things like that? So those are things that I try to focus on in my videos and kind of showcasing, like, what can you wear on Capitol Hill?
For sure.
What are things that you can embrace and be fun, but also be taken seriously, especially as a woman, kind of thinking about what are you wearing in different contexts. Like today I had to think about, like, hey, what am I going to wear on the podcast? Usually in panels and things like that, there's high chairs. Yeah. So I typically wear a longer dress or skirt because I just, want to be covered up.
For sure.
So, just things like that, guys don't have to think about. You just put on a suit and tie and there you go.
We're very thankful for that, yes.
Like what kind of shoes can you wear so your feet aren't dying when they're on the marble? Things like that.
For sure.
I've really, kind of embraced it. And, coming back from being in Milwaukee where, folks dress a little bit differently, and coming back here and kind of bringing back Outfit on the Hill. It's exciting.
So do you focus mainly on women staffers or people in politics, or do you focus on guys too?
Mostly women staffers. Not because we don't like having guys on. I actually had the mayor of my hometown.
Very cool.
He came on and he was talking about the haberdashery in our hometown and his suit,
Awesome.
Which was really cool. So, would love to have some guys come on, showcase where their ties and socks are from. Never hurts to have some more ideas on that. But, sometimes fashion kind of leans towards women. So I have a lot more women that kind of show up for the videos.
There are some guys on the Hill where you walk by and like, all right, good job, dude. Like, you're doing it right. So if you know one of those people and you want to like recommend them, we'll make sure that we get them in contact with Maria to showcase them, because there are some guys who can wear a suit and tie better than others can. So
that is true. That is very true.
Nice. So I do think that the Hill can be boring sometimes in how they dress, or like a little conservative. I have a few questions here. First off, how do you feel about the trend where staffers are starting to wear jeans and like dressing down more out of session?
Out of session, I think it's okay. I don't love the jeans. I have done it, of course. I actually did some recess outfits on Outfit on the Hill. So I think it's kind of, you should dress for your day. I'm a huge believer in that, especially when I worked at Google. I really had to learn what that was.
Mind shift.
It was a whole mind shift. The uniform was kind of, you either wear a dressy top and like maybe jeans, or you wear dressy bottoms and a t-shirt.
There you go.
So that was kind of the uniform in the tech world. But I do think it's really dress for your day. Like, you have to dress for what you're going to be doing. If you're going to, be outside, like maybe don't wear heels, when it's raining out or something like that. So those kind of things are really important to dress for the day that you're going to have. And, Capitol Hill, I think, is a very distinguished place. So treating it that way, in my opinion, is important.
Yeah.
But also just dressing for what you're going to do that day is also important.
I think COVID switched things up there a little too, because before that you saw jeans maybe every once in a while. Post COVID, definitely more so. But I would go to the Hill sometimes in the middle of COVID because we would still work in office a little bit, or I would just go in and get some work done in there. And if I was wearing like Lulu sweats or something, I'm like, I know I look okay, but like I feel dirty or something. Like I don't know if I should be wearing this in the Capitol.
Hey, guys can get away with ABC pants.
Oh, now ABC pants are different. I wear those every day for all hours of the day, every day of my life. So
my fiance loves his ABC pants. Just put on a blazer. Who would know?
Yeah, they're the best pant ever. Used to work at Lululemon in college. So if you ever want to learn what ABC actually stands for, go look it up. But we're not going to talk about that on the show today.
Hey,
so.
Sounds like Lululemon should be one of your sponsors.
Oh, if anyone out there could make that happen, I would definitely love that. So we'll do some business development there for sure.
Awesome.
Anyways, so when it comes to like dressing up your style on the Hill and acting conservative in your dress and wanting to have respect for the place you're working, how do you do that but still bring flair into that process or creative style?
Sure. So I think it's kind of getting some of those classic pieces to build an outfit, but also, make sure you're covered up in the places that you should be, and add some color in. Maybe a colorful blazer, and you're wearing a nice pair of pants and a white top. Like that's a great way to build in some personal flair. I really like scarves, so that's a way that I usually bring things in, bring in a little bit of color if I'm wearing something that's more neutral, kind of building around the basics and having some more statement pieces that can really highlight, your own personal style.
For sure.
I also use headbands a lot. That's a great way to be a little bit more formal, but have a little bit of fun on top.
No cheese heads on the Hill.
I did wear my cheese head on the Hill one time. There's a video where I'm wearing black pants, black top, a green blazer, and the cheese head.
Love that. That's great. Glad you've done it at least once. How about for the guys? How can they, from your recommendations, how can they stand out a little bit with the more traditional fit that everyone has to wear?
Yeah. Obviously your tie, pocket square. I think that adds a little bit of flair.
Okay.
A lot of guys don't typically wear a pocket square on the Hill, but I think it adds a little bit of zhuzh.
Yeah.
Socks for sure. The sock game is so fun. There's so many like cool designs, and it also can lean into shows that you like. There's like cartoon socks.
Yeah, you can go all over with that one.
There's so many different kinds. I know my fiance, he loves his shark socks. He likes sharks, Jaws, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of ways to mix it up. Of course, you're probably still wearing your suit. It's like the Steve Harvey, get yourself the five colors of the suit, and then this pair of pants goes with this top, and this pair of pants goes with this blazer. There's a sound online about it. But
Love Steve Harvey. I also feel like if you have a few different color options, it's great to mix and match pants and jacket. That can bring in some flair. But I think you should have like a segment of your channel where it's just like showing off socks, Showing off socks?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, you got to come show off your socks. I'll recruit James first, but
Yes.
We'll get a sock showstopper.
There you go. Good stuff. Heard it here first. So whenever you do it, we can take credit for sure. All right, let's talk about serious stuff. Tell us a little bit about...
One serious question, huh?
Yeah, one in the entire show. But we'll start off with Google. Super cool time to go and work for it. It's one of the biggest companies in the world, to spend some time on the Hill, to work over there, and to work with people on the Hill in that process. What was it like? How long were you there? What was the experience?
Yeah, so I was at Google for about 4.5 years. I loved my time there. I thought being at Google, it's a wonderful place to think big. There's a lot of resources. So, you think of a project and you kind of, can get funding for it and things like that, which I did, which I thought was so cool to be able to impact the world in that way. I came fresh off the campaign trail to Google and doing outreach to folks on Capitol Hill, campaigns, candidates, elected officials, on how to utilize Google tools, I thought was really meaningful and helpful. There's some crazy things that came through my inbox, and I'm like, wow, I never thought I would see that, but okay. So, just ways to kind of to help out, the world, help out, democracy at points. So it was very cool to be there.
Nice. Did you ever get to go to HQ?
Yeah, of course. Okay, this is really funny. The first time that I went out to California, I was sent there to lead around the reservists from the Army, and I took them to YouTube, and then we went to Mountain View, and I had never been there before.
Oh man!
So I'm supposed to tour.
The blind leading the blind.
Oh my gosh! I was supposed to tour around these guys, and YouTube. I kind of had a lay of the land. We went to the slide, which was really fun.
Very fun.
So I was at YouTube, and they're like, "So, do you want to come with us to Mountain View?" So YouTube is in San Jose, and that's like a good drive down to Mountain View. And they're like, "Maria, do you want to come with us?" I'm like, "Oh, like it's fine, I'll Uber." They're like, "No, you're coming with us." Yeah. So I get in this pickup truck, and they're like, "Okay, we're going to In-N-Out." So they basically showed me around versus me showing them around. So that was the first time I ever went out to California for Google and went to HQ. Very cool. It was with them. And it was really fun. I got to learn about what they do as reservists. It's kind of their 2-week learning period during the year. But that was the first time I ever went out there.
Good stuff. And to get In-N-Out, California In-N-Out, real In-N-Out in the process.
Real In-N-Out. It's better than In-N-Out on the Vegas Strip, that's for sure.
Yeah. For
that's
anyone,
like the only time I get it, I feel like.
For anyone out there, I have to say this for my wife's sake because she's from California. But if you've had In-N-Out and it hasn't been in California, please try it in California before you say it sucks. I think you might have a different experience. Anyways, again, going completely off topic here.
That's how I feel about Culver's.
Okay, yeah.
Shout out to Culver's.
Yes, for sure. So, all right. Spend your time at Google. Now you work in the DC office on the government relations side of things, or you work kind of in tandem with them.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of Republicans and Democrats working over there. How did you find that like kumbaya moment and like symbiosis to all work together for the greater cause of what you're trying to do with the company?
Yeah. I mean, it was great to kind of have the camaraderie of the folks on the government affairs team, public affairs, ads, all kind of on the Republican side of things. I get the question all the time, Maria, what's it like being a Republican at Google? And I'll tell you, in the DC office, I found a great group of people that I very much enjoy, and we really had each other's back. It's funny, there's two of us. My colleague went to the NRSC, I went to the RNC post Google, and you can kind of see that as the testament of the people that really go over there. And it's really important to have a diversity of thought when it comes to all of these big tech companies. I thought that I was really in a great group of people kind of fighting the good fight at Google. But then when you go outside of that DC bubble, it changes a little bit. You kind of see what people are truly talking about when it comes to tech and being in a liberal bubble and things like that. So I was really fortunate to have a group of people here in DC to lean on and help me with my work, because most of my work was focused on Republican offices and campaigns. So having other people in the ecosystem who are also working with those offices, also working with those campaigns, was really helpful to kind of make sure we're presenting united front.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like it's good to have some sort of common cause that isn't like your party to unite behind and be on the same team. And that can go outside of work too. Is like find something else to agree on and have fun with that, you know?
Totally. It's also like it's a value system. It's, things that people care about are very entrenched in your political leanings. So that's helpful too.
Yeah, for sure. So you move on to the RNC. How did you get that gig? And it lasted way longer than I would have expected a gig for the national convention to last.
So I actually really wanted to go to the RNC. So with events like this, there's a lot of planning that's involved.
For sure.
And it's a several years long effort. So back in 2022, it had been announced that it was between Milwaukee and Nashville for the RNC. And I'm like, oh, if Milwaukee is chosen, I want to go do that. I want to go work on the RNC. So, of course, I talked to some of my mentors, hey, like, what does this look like? Should I take this leap? I mean, it's a huge risk leaving a company like Google to go and work on something that's a year long.
Yeah.
But to me, it was worth it. It's in my home state. The RNC really bridged together everything that I have worked on in my career. Yeah. It's a huge event. I love events. I love planning events. I love going to events. Events are amazing. So it's a huge event. The marketing side of things, I love piecing together campaigns and, strategy behind how are we putting things out there? How is it resonating with our audience? The digital side of things, putting out the live stream, kind of those corporate relationships, things like that. And then, of course, being home in Wisconsin. So kind of all those things together really solidified me wanting to go home and work on the RNC. It was super fun being there. And I don't regret the choice. I'm so happy with the choice to, I spent a great 4.5 years at Google, but pivoting and transitioning to doing something that I really love and enjoy,
for sure,
I think was completely worth it.
Yeah, it's almost a reset. Like, obviously worked very hard for that year, but it's good to get out of DC a little bit, experience something else, experience home, and feel safe in that. So it kind of recharges you a bit somehow to get you back into the DC grind.
Totally. I think for me, I've always been really entrepreneurial. So right now it's me piecing together. Coming off the RNC, I got some requests. Hey, Maria, I need some help with this. Maria, I need some help with this campaign. So that was very fortunate. I kind of came off and got some clients and things like that. But, really figuring out that next entrepreneurial step, because I think that that's the direction that I will really enjoy and be excited about. Obviously, we have to figure out what's going to happen on November 5th. And then, we'll see what happens in the country, in the world. But, really kind of embracing the moment and, working on projects that I'm excited about that I care about. Being able to come on podcasts and things like that, and being able to kind of do these things and speak freely, because I do think that, especially in the digital space, it really is a lot of work. Like, hey, can you help me put this on the website? Hey, can you help me make this video? Can you edit this? Like things like that people are asking of you. And I really do enjoy kind of speaking freely and, making sure that the digital play is heard, because I think that's where we're moving. Like content is king. Content is what drives politics. So somebody can put a video out there and it in an instant can be a 24-hour news cycle. So being able to talk about that, I think, is something that I've also really, really enjoyed.
For sure. Yeah. Well, let's just get on into that then, for sure. As a former digital guy too, we got to talk about digital. And in my interpretation in my time on the Hill, I saw how much value it created for me, just because a lot of people didn't know how to do it. So we'll talk broader, but for this question, you don't have to be a communication staffer already to help on the digital side of things.
Totally.
How can any staffer on the Hill or even in the private sector gain more value for their career by learning digital? And what should they do to get that step?
Oh man, what a great question. Anybody can do small things to kind of help in the digital world. Learning Illustrator, learning the Adobe suite, like those kind of things are things that can not only help you, if you're putting out graphics for your boss or making a video or something like that, but it could also help you if you're a legislative staffer and you're putting together, some talking points on a bill, or maybe you're applying for a job and you want to format your resume. Like those are basic things that can really be helped with just a little bit of graphic design.
For sure.
Actually, we were doing this in my own house, talking about letters, and James was trying to sign a letter, and he had this screenshot of his signature, and it had like a line through it. I'm like, oh, sweetie, we gotta put it in the software. You can just draw on the iPad. So we ended up doing that with the signature. But something as simple as that could really be solved by, just kind of knowing some of the minutia of, editing software and things like that.
For sure.
But then, kind of leveling up the game. Like, what do most people spend time on? Whether good or bad, they spend time on social media. We're in an attention economy, and being able to put together a video, even if you're just out there and you're getting B-roll or you're kind of showcasing what you see, that's something that is also important the digital ecosystem.
Video and like camera composition too, as a policy staffer, when you're in those meetings or in a hearing, that goes a long way if you get some well-composed pictures and video. So
totally.
Or my mind also goes to like one-pager designs too.
Yep.
Like our office would do a lot of those, and so I would just whip up like I had a template that I would always use that was simple but looked really nice and created our brand. So most people can figure out how to do that. So like policy people, go out there and design some cool looking one-pagers, like just little stuff like that can go a long way in expanding your arsenal. And if you really want to have it, learn video editing. I feel like that's probably the best way on the Hill. Yeah.
It's huge, video editing. But yeah, like those one-pagers, like get a template. There's also pre-made templates out there. So if you want to just kind of level up your game, maybe use one of those.
Yeah.
That's something that I think is really important. I do want to say though, when people post a cool video or something like that, and they're like, oh, like give the intern a raise, I'm like, oh my goodness. This was not made by an intern. I promise you that. It could have been, but probably not. We're at a stage in the digital world where it's a profession and a career. So
until you try to tell your parents that,
they're like, what do you do now? I don't know.
So you run a Twitter?
It was funny when I worked on the Hill. My grandma thought that I worked at the White House. I'm like, different white buildings.
They're close.
Same city.
Yeah, they do similar things. Nice. As far as those people who are in the digital space who want to take their game to the next level, what does that look like?
I think you really hit the nail on the head when you were talking about video editing. That's a huge space. But then kind of thinking a little bit more broadly about a holistic strategy.
Yeah.
It really is, how do you take the message that your principal or you are trying to put out there, and how do you make that in the place that is going to resonate most with your audience? Yeah. And is that through a newsletter? Is that where your audience is? Is it through a Instagram Reel? Is it through a YouTube Short? Is it on TikTok? Like, those are kind of things that I think when you're thinking as a digital staffer, it's not about the execution, it's about the strategy. So a lot of times it's building up your arsenal, knowing how to do these things and executing, but then that level up is really the strategy of like, okay, why does this video work on this platform and maybe not this one?
Yeah, for sure. I think most staffers too, going back a little bit to what anyone can do, most staffers are consuming a ton of content. So you almost inherently figure out what looks good or what the trend is right now. And so you're probably a professional at consuming content. And so it's
so much content.
Yeah, right. Jeez, I wish we all weren't, but it is what it is.
So much content.
But I think it creates opportunities where, all right, I know it looks good. Like, let me figure out how to turn this around and make it myself. And so anyone can create value there as well. But yeah, where do you think the digital world is going from here?
I mean, AI is huge. When people think about it in the political world, I think it can be kind of this scary topic when we're thinking about AI, but really AI is a tool. It's just like the calculator. When the calculator came to be, it was like, oh no, accountants and math teachers are going to be out of a job. But it's the same thing. It's a tool to help you do the things that you need to do. So, being able to put in prompts in AI and just kind of taking out some of the task work that can make it more efficient. Some research I think can really be helped with AI. Just kind of formatting things, putting things together. That's kind of what I use AI for. And also, people don't realize how much AI is already ingrained in most of the tools that we already do. Yeah. Like when you book a flight on Google Calendar, it shows up with your whole flight already blocked out. That's AI. So things like that already existed kind of pre-AI boom, people don't really realize that is AI, but kind of the turn of AI now is kind of thinking of large language models and how do you utilize those to get different outputs.
Did you see the RNC like in your time doing the convention? Were you guys utilizing Chat GPT or anything like that at all?
I think a little bit. People kind of, dabble personally. But one of the things we actually tapped into on the convention was content credentialing.
Okay.
So one of the things that, of course, is very important in our line of work is content authenticity and making sure that the things that people say and the images and videos that are out there are actually authentic to whomever made them and said them. So we actually use content credentials on our images at the convention to say like, hey, these are authentic images from the convention.
Cool.
And, that's actually an initiative that a lot of the tech companies, they've come together really to help be able to credential images, not only in the political world, but kind of outside. But the convention was sort of the first foray into content credentialing in the political space. So the first organization that ever used it. So kind of cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I feel like there's a stigma around AI too, at least when I use it. If I'm like putting prompts into Chat GPT and it's doing my work for me, sometimes I'm like, oh, like I need to be doing this work. There's this mindset of like you're cheating someone's time, but in reality, like, I mean, I'm only saving my own time as a business owner, but for other people, it allows you to do other things. It's making you more efficient and helping you out. So why not use it? But
totally. I think that, it's a tool. It's something that you can use. And, a lot of times it'll give you back something and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
So obviously you need to be able to think critically and utilize the things that are coming out. Like, don't just copy and paste it. Like, that's not cool. But, utilizing it to, kind of go back and forth with the prompts. Also, a really great tip that I got from a friend, she told ChatGPT to ask her questions because then that provoked her own thinking. And I was like, wow, that's really smart. Because she was coming up with talking points and she had it ask her questions and it really helped her kind of think through like, oh, wait, I didn't even think of that. Sure. Okay. So that could be a tactic if you feel like, oh, like it's kind of outputting all my work for me. Like get it to ask you questions and then you can write down the answers yourself.
For sure. Also for the press staffers out there that have to do briefing sheets, those I couldn't stand doing those. So just throw like 6 articles in there and be like, give me the highlights. Summarize that baby real quick. Highly recommend. I hope I never have to do a briefing sheet again, but that'll help you never have to do it again either. So switching back to personal, you're a little bit of a cheese enthusiast.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you're from Wisconsin, so is that like when you're born you get this stamp of like you have to become a cheese enthusiast?
It's just all around. There's cheese there. It's kind of, cheesemongers. There's a whole cheese section at the grocery store. So, in DC and probably other parts of the country, there's like that little, standout island that has the cheese on it, maybe the specialty cheese. No, at home, there is an entire row of cheese. So, it's a little bit hard not to be able to, pick and choose what kind of cheese you like. I like harder cheeses. My favorite cheese is a rum runner cheese.
Okay.
It's made by Sartori. So Sartori is the cheesemonger of Sargento. So Sartori's and the Gentines came together to make Sargento. It's really close to my hometown in Plymouth, Wisconsin. So kind of cool. But it's like one of those specialty cheeses that I really like.
For the uninformed like myself, what does it mean to be a cheesemonger?
Oh, a cheesemonger. A cheesemonger is somebody who makes cheese.
Okay, there you go. I had no idea. I thought it was like a warmonger or something,
No.
I'm just like really pushing cheese down people's throats. Anyways. Yeah, great. I don't know where to go from there, but
no, it's cool. Cheese is fun. Actually, one of the coolest things that I think happens. So every year on New Year's Eve, instead of the ball drop in Times Square, there is a cheese drop in Plymouth, Wisconsin.
love it.
And they have a big hunk of cheddar cheese that drops down. And of course, everyone celebrates. It happens at 10 p.m. Instead of midnight. But very cool. Obviously, very cold because it's outside on December 31st in Wisconsin. But I think it's an amazing tradition. My mom went last year.
Love it. Bucket list opportunity right there.
Oh yeah, it's like put that on the unique road trip.
Yeah, for sure. While
stops.
you're seeing the biggest like piece of corn in the world, go check out the cheese drop for sure.
Oh yeah, it's like the Corn Palace in South Dakota.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, it's like on the way to Mount Rushmore.
There you go. Got to do something.
My mom and I have actually been doing research. We want to do a road trip.
Nice.
My mom retired, which is cool.
Very cool.
Congrats to Darcy. But we want to do a road trip and go see all 50 states and go to those kind of more quirky, world's biggest chair or, whatever they have.
Love that. Transitioning, final question, a little bit more serious, but when it comes to younger staffers just starting off right now, what type of advice would you give them transitioning into DC?
Totally. I think the first bit of advice that I would give is know the general direction that you're looking to go. I have coffee a lot with younger staffers, things like that. And one of the biggest things that can help me as somebody who's trying to help you is just give me a direction. Just saying, hey, like I'll do anything, which is a great attitude to have. But, kind of saying, hey, I'm really interested in communications, or I'm really interested in foreign affairs. That's really helpful when it comes to a direction, because I can say, oh, hey, like I know somebody on the foreign affairs committee, like I'm happy to connect you. Yeah. Or, hey, I know somebody in such and such office who's looking for a digital assistant. I'll connect you with them.
For sure.
So kind of having a direction, I think, is something that's really helpful. Also, when you're just starting out, be willing to do the small stuff. I always say, always shine your star, because you are always auditioning for your next role.
Yeah.
Even me, I've been at this for over a decade. You're always auditioning for your next thing. Somebody who worked with you, like the reason that I got connected with the convention is because of somebody that I worked with on a campaign 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So those kind of connections and just your work ethic really shine through years and years and years later. So that's something that I also recommend.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's so crucial, and it's helped me along the way too. The things where even in the moment, you're like, why the heck am I doing this? What is this going to do towards the greater goal of my career? But my first job out of school was with a app-based laundry service for college students.
Cool.
So I, first job, marketing and operations, whatever. But that job and seeing the inside of like ideation inside of it, creating an app and all of that, then one day allowed me to build my business. And so, or like the digital skills I picked up along the way allowed me to not have to pay people to design what my app would look like or stuff like that. So all the things that you're doing, do them well and figure out like how it helps you grow and just accept it and say, yeah, I'll do it. And it'll eventually probably provide some sort of value along the way.
Of course. I mean, it's also, test things out, figure out what you like, but also figure out what you don't like. If there's anybody who's interning who's listening, that is the time to figure out like, ooh, I really liked that, but I really didn't like that.
Yeah.
So that's the time, figure it out. Sometimes an experience that maybe didn't jive is an experience that you'll take with you for the long haul because you know what you like and what you don't.
Yeah.
And part of, navigating your career is figuring that out.
For sure. That's a fun process. It's all part of it.
Yeah.
Maria Giannopoulos, thank you for being here.
Yeah, this is fun.
All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Cheers.
Thanks again for tuning in to the Capital Spotlight podcast. If you enjoyed the show today, be sure to subscribe to our channels to stay updated on our latest releases and get our shows early. Share the show with your friends and rate us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. For more from Connect, follow us on our social media, Connect app, CNCT app, and subscribe to our daily newsletters and check out our website. It's capitalconnect.com. Capital is spelled with an L. See you next time.